Howdy. My name is Nonat, and welcome to my deep dive into the human ancestry for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Now, chances are, if you're watching this video, you are a human. Shout out to my dog and cat audience out there, though. Humans, they're the standard building block race for every single RPG, really. They're always pretty simple, but with a lot of options. They're not bad at anything because we as humans think humans are the best. You know, I'll be honest, I love humans in RPGs. Humans do great things. Great things like the Beadle Grimm's character complete... No, it's a blooper. Throw that away. Great things like the Beadle Grimm's Complete Character Chronicles. Take it away, Lillard!
On a real night of gaming, you bounce from a core rulebook to the advanced player's guide, and of course your character sheet. But what if?
We created a single book specifically tailored for your character class with a massive character sheet to record every detail of your hero.
And then took all the official Pathfinder rules, spells, feats, and skills that you need for your class and your class only, and combined that with an expansive journal to capture your story. Character sheet, rulebook, journal, all in one.
The Complete Character Chronicle is live on Kickstarter now.
Thank you so much, Beadle Grimm's, for supporting the channel and making the rest of this video ad-free for you guys. It is interesting, really. Humans have always been the no penalty, but no big boosts, you can do whatever you want kind of ancestry. I mean, hell, in original D&D, everyone was a human. You couldn't play as an elf or a dwarf. And Pathfinder 2nd Edition is pretty much following that formula. Humans are basic, they have no inherent penalties, and can build in an incredible amount of directions, and this is really well stated in their starting stats. With 8 hit points, average, a medium size, average, 25-foot movement speed, average, and no penalty, but only 2 ability boosts. Most ancestries get 3 ability boosts, 2 of which are predetermined, and 1 ability flaw. So while humans have the same net gain, net loss as other ancestries, they can boost anything they want. You want to be a human whose boosts go to charisma and constitution? Fantastic, you do you. I see why they did this. Being able to give people the ability to basically customize their ancestry is really cool, and kind of topical with Tasha's coming out for D&D. So I don't hate this. Going along with the formula of humans being the building block ancestry, I'm fine with this. One of their penalties is that they get 1 less language, though. Most ancestries start with their own language and common. Humans, common is their language. They don't get Dwarven or Elvish or Gnomish. They just get common and languages equal to their intelligence modifier. But moving on into heritages, humans are a bit different than the other ancestries. Their heritages don't give them a new physical feature or typically give them crazy things depending on where they were raised. These are much more unique. The first 2 being half elf and half orc, which technically you can be half anything. In the sidebar here, you can see that in the core rulebook, even though there's only rules for half elf and half orc, you can be a half anything. Half human, half dwarf? Cool. Half human, half gnome? Freaky, but cool. The way these heritages work is sort of trading away your heritage for more feat options. These heritages on their own really don't give much. They give low light vision, but other than that, you can just now select from both human and elf ancestry feats, or human and orc ancestry feats, as well as a small percentage of feats that are unique to half-elves or half-orcs. But other than that, these 2 work the exact same way, as well as any other custom half-ancestry heritage you would like to play. And honestly, worth mentioning here, because I don't know when else I would mention it, you could give these heritages to other ancestries and have them work the exact same way. If you have an elf and want to be half-orc, just take the half-orc heritage and put it on an elf. Get your GM's permission first, of course. But it would work the same way. If you were an elf, you would gain the orc trait, as well as the ability to take orc, half-orc, and elf feats. Play around with it. If your GM is cool with it, there's a lot of experimentation to be done there. Next up is Skilled Heritage, which is just really good. You become trained in any skill, and at level 5, you automatically become an expert. Just 2 free skill increases. Never bad. Unfortunately, though, the pretty much end-all, be-all, best human heritage, as far as min-maxing is concerned, is typically Versatile Heritage, which gives you a free general feat. Now, it still has to be a level 1 general feat, but this is so good. In a system where you only get 5 general feats, getting an extra one is huge, especially because this means you could start with something like Fleet or Incredible Initiative. This is just too good. The Lost Omens did give us a heritage for humans that's more in line with some of the other ancestries. The Winter-touched human, which is your classic, I resist cold. Resistance equal to half your level to cold damage and treat cold environment effects as 1 step less severe. We've seen this all before. And that's it. Humans honestly only have 3 actual heritages and then the half-orc, half-elf heritages. Like, yeah, they're technically heritages, but they more so just trade away your heritage for more options. So it's really interesting. Humans are much more based around their feats rather than their heritage. Speaking of which, how about we move ahead to them, because boy are there a lot! There weren't that many in the core rulebook, and even the APG doesn't add that many, but the Lost Omens guide? Whew, we'll get to that. But let's start off with Adapted Cantrip. This feat's really cool. It does have a prerequisite that your class must be able to cast spells. This grants you a cantrip from any other spellcasting tradition other than your own. So if you cast arcane spells, you could take a divine or primal cantrip. But this does have some restrictions. This does not add a cantrip to your spell list. This replaces one. So if you're a sorcerer and you only have access to 3 or 4 cantrips, well, you gotta replace one of them with the one from the other tradition. So this is not a net gain of spells, but it does diversify you pretty well. But other than that, it works just like any other cantrip you know and counts as being cast from your primary tradition. So if you take a primal cantrip and you're a wizard, you still cast that primal cantrip as though it were an arcane spell. Cooperative Nature, I love. I haven't used it myself, I always want to, but then I'm too selfish and min-maxy. This, whenever you aid someone, you get a +4 to your roll. That's amazing. With this feat, your chance of critically failing an aid check is so slim to none. And especially at low levels, like I mentioned with the Helpful Halfling feat last time, getting this kind of bonus at the low levels to aid checks is huge. Due to the flat DC of aid checks being a 20, it's not always easy to hit that at levels 1 and 2, but with a +4, that becomes totally feasible as long as you're trained in whatever you're helping with. Hey, did you not think that Versatile Heritage was good enough by giving you a free General feat? Well, how about you take General Training and take another one? And you can take General Training multiple times. I don't know why you'd want to do this, but if you take General Training for every one of your Ancestry feats, and take the Versatile Heritage, you can get 11 General feats on your character. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can. Haughty Obstinacy actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I've never known humans to be the headstrong, resistant types. Elves and halflings and their stubbornness, sure. But this says your powerful ego makes it harder for others to order you around. From my experience, humans have always been the easiest to order around. Nevertheless, if you roll a successful saving throw against a mental effect that is attempting to directly control your actions, which is very specific, you critically succeed instead. As well, any creature that fails to coerce you gets a critical failure instead. Once again, this isn't super common as a GM and any GM I've talked to, they don't tend to use coerce on their players. Against this feat I think is designed for an NPC. If you have an important NPC and you don't want your players to just charm them and intimidate them into doing what they want, this is a good feat to give them, because the chance of you using the coerce action on your players is so slim and not that fun. I think I've mentioned this before, but I hate that kind of effect, like, he succeeded his intimidation check, so now you want to help him. But I don't want to help him. Well, too bad, you have to help him now. Yeah. Again, this is a feat that I think is designed for an NPC. It wouldn't get a whole lot of use on a player. Natural Ambition. Do you have another level 1 class feat that you just really want to take? Or maybe you're a spellcaster that doesn't get a level 1 class feat? Well, now you do! Guys, human feats are so stupid. They're so powerful. When you compare an Ancestry feat to a class feat, 9 times out of 10, a class feat is going to be so much stronger. So with this, you can just trade away your level 1 Ancestry feat for a level 1 class feat. On something like a Ranger, this is broken. It's not super powerful on every class. Something like a barbarian or a fighter might not need multiple feats at first level, but depending on your build, you very likely will be taking natural ambition. Natural skill. Have I mentioned that humans can just do anything? You become trained in 2 additional skills. That's it. Unconventional weaponry is cool, but definitely not worth the Ancestry feat when compared to the rest of the level 1 options. You pick 1 cultural weapon. That's any weapon with an Ancestry trait on it, like dwarf or gnome or halfling. You become trained in that weapon. Not that entire Ancestry's list of weapons, just that 1 weapon. Now you can take this to make some gimmicky builds, such as my level 1 56 damage wizard who becomes trained in great axes, but overall this is not going to be worth it. Though a comment in a recent video did say that the weaponry feats for Ancestries are for flavor, and I can definitely agree with that. If you just want to be a wizard with a battle axe, this is great. This is an easy way to integrate it into your build, and there is merit to that. Not everything has to be min-maxed, and sometimes I think my reviews do come across from that min-maxed brain stance. So thank you, comment, for reminding me that RP is important in an RPG. Oh boy, and now for the level 1 feats from the Lost Omens guide. Get ready, y'all, because there's 3 pages of them. Starting off with arcane tattoos, I'm not going to go over all the ethnicities, because basically all of these belong to a different human ethnicity, so basically run these by your GM, or build a character of this ethnicity, but there's like 12 different human ethnicities, and they all got a first level feat, and I'm just going to go over what the feats do. Arcane tattoos. You have a special tattoo somewhere on your body that associates with one of the arcane schools. Depending on what school you get, you will either get a cantrip of Shield, Tanglefoot, Daze, Electric Arc, Ghost Sound, Chill Touch, or Sigil, and you can cast any of these at will as a cantrip, even if your class is not magical. Pretty solid option for something like a fighter or a ranger. Courteous Comeback is pretty good. Should you critically fail a diplomacy check, you can re-roll it. Just any time you critically fail, you get to roll again. Now, if you critically fail again, you're screwed. You can only re-roll it once using this effect. But hey, this means, statistically, you will never crit fail a diplomacy check, and that's really good for a level 1 feat. Devil's Advocate. You know a lot about devils. You get a +2 to any perception check to seek a specific devil, as well as +2 to saving throws against abilities that came from a devil. Additionally, you get the Glad Hand Diplomacy feat only for devils. The second you engage in conversation with a devil, you get to make a free diplomacy check at -5. Should you fail this, you can talk for 1 minute and then make another check. Additionally, if you already have the Glad Hand skill feat, you don't take the -5 to talk to the devil. Pretty solid if you're going to be talking to devils. Dragon Spit is so cool, and I have it on my fighter because he's a Chandon human, and I love it. You get any of the, offensive arcane cantrips. Acid Splash, Electric Arc, Produce Flame, or Ray of Frost. But you don't cast it from a wand, you don't cast it from a hand, you frickin' spit it! It's awesome, so my fighter can cast Produce Flame and just spit it from his mouth, and it's so cool! Moving on. Gloomseer, you have low light vision. Not even dark vision. Keep Up Appearances is a very cool Ancestry feat that's a reaction. Should you ever suffer an emotion effect, you can use your reaction to make a deception check and compare it to everyone else's perception DC. Should you succeed, even though you are suffering from the effect, they can't tell, and thus cannot use any abilities that rely on that effect. The example it gives is, should you suffer a fear effect, but succeed at your deception check, you are frightened, but it can't use the feed on fear ability, because it can't tell you're frightened. I love this. This is so cool. Know oneself. Once per day, should you critically fail against an emotion effect, you normal fail instead. Not bad. Not too much to say about it. It just saves your butt once per day if it's an emotion effect. Qua Bond is one of the ones that I really can't not go into the ethnicity for. It's for the Shoan-Ti ethnicity. When you make your character, you pick one of the Qua that's watching over you as a Shoan-Ti human, and you gain train proficiency in one of these skills, as well as the Assurance skill feat for that skill. Depending on your Qua, you can become trained in religion, athletics, nature, diplomacy, intimidation, medicine, or acrobatics, as well as get assurance for that. That's really good economy, trading an Ancestry feat for a skill feat and a skill increase. Not bad. Some of these human feats are so crazy and interesting, like Sauk Astrology. 3 times per day, so long as right after your daily preparations you were able to analyze the sky or a star chart, then before rolling a skill check, you can roll a d8. Should you roll a 1, you get a -1 on the skill check. Should you roll a 2, nothing happens. Should you get a 3, 4, or 5, you get a +1 on that skill check. And should you roll a 6, 7, or 8, you get +2 to that skill check. That's really good. Worth noting is that these are circumstance bonuses, so these will stack if you have a magic user that can cast something like Guidance. So if you roll a 6, 7, or 8, and you have Guidance on you, you can get +3 to a skill check at level 1. Really solid. Tupilok Carver is honestly kind of insane. At level 1, as long as you're an Erotaki ethnicity, or your GM allows you, you just get to add the Summon Construct spell to your spell list. Now you have to be able to cast Divine or Primal spells. You cannot take this feat if you are an Occult or Arcane caster. This is effectively voodooism. If you include anything like a drop of blood or a lock of hair, then the construct you summoned gets a +4 to perception checks to locate that creature. Really, really cool idea. Viking Shieldbreaker, because who needs the Viking archetype when you can just take the Viking Ancestry feat? You become trained in either the Battle Axe or the Longsword and get the shield block reaction. That's it. Nothing too crazy special, but hey, if you're not a class that gets shield block, like, I guess like a ranger, it's not bad. And the final level 1 human feat in the Lost Omens character guide is the Witch Warden, which just makes you so much better specifically at fighting witches. You get a +1 to saving throws against all curses, and you also get a +1 bonus to any spell cast by a witch against you. Should you roll a success against a spell cast by a witch or a hag, you get a critical success instead. Keep in mind, this bonus to auto crit succeed does not apply to normal curses. You still get a +1 bonus against all curse saving throws, but unless it was cast by a witch or a hag, you do not auto crit succeed those. But overall, really good. Really solid. Hopefully your GM will include a witch if you pick this ethnicity. And believe it or not, there are no level 1 Ancestry feats in the APG, so we get to move right back to the core rulebook and start up on the level 5 feats. If you took the adapted Cantrip feat at first level, and you can cast at least 3rd level spells, you can take the Adaptive Adept feat at level 5. Now, in my opinion, Adaptive Adept is way worse than Adapted Cantrip. You choose a cantrip or 1st level spell from the tradition you picked for Adapted Cantrip, and you get to add it to your repertoire, spellbook, whatever, in the same way you added the cantrip. So if you're a sorcerer, you replace one of your spells with the spell from that other tradition. For a sorcerer or a bard, this feat isn't bad, but if you are a prepared caster, you can do better than this, because if you choose this level 1 spell, let's say you're an arcane wizard, and you take the level 1 heal spell from the divine tradition, you can't heighten it. Even though a prepared spellcaster does not need to learn a higher level version, they cannot heighten this spell beyond 1st level. Likewise, even if you are a sorcerer or a bard, a spontaneous caster, even if you were to find a scroll of heal level 5, you cannot learn it. This spell you take from this feat is stuck at 1st level permanently. And for being a level 5 feat, that's not great. Because remember, you're not just gaining this as a free spell. You're trading out one of your spells, which you could freely heighten, in exchange for this one. Now this is, again, versatility, really cool, but that's a huge drawback, especially for the prepared casters who can heighten at will. Clever Improviser. Hey human, do you not have enough general feats? Well hey, Clever Improviser gives you the Untrained Improvisation general feat. And you can also attempt any trained action for any skill, even if you're not trained. This one's really cool. Dark Seer. You need Gloom Seer. You get Dark Vision. That's it. Ornate Tattoo is an upgrade to Arcane Tattoo. You pick any 1st level arcane spell from the same school as your tattoo, and you can cast it once per day. Really solid, way better than Adapted Adept. Wave Touch Paragons, pretty good. you get a swim speed. You no longer have to roll athletics to swim. You can just swim 15 feet per action. Solid. Sense allies is honestly kind of lame, I guess. You get a bonus to know where your allies are. I don't know a lot of situations where this would be useful, but if you are within 60 feet of an ally who also considers you an ally, and they are undetected, instead they're just hidden. The only way I see this being useful is if they're like hidden and locked in a prison, and you're trying to find them to bust them out, then once you're within 60 feet, you know exactly which prison cell they're in. What is nice about this, I will grant it, if you take this on something like a cleric, if your ally is hidden and you attempt to heal them, you still need to make the flat DC 11 check to successfully target them, just like an enemy attacking them. If you have sense allies, that check is reduced to a 5 instead of an 11, so your rogue can successfully hide with 2 hit points remaining, and you have a higher chance to launch that heal spell out and still hit them. So, I guess that's fine. Cooperative Soul is really, really powerful, albeit less optimal than it sounds. If you are aiding somebody, and you are an expert in the skill you're aiding with, you cannot get less than a success. If you roll critical failure, or success, it's a success. And then if you roll crit success, it's a crit success. The reason this isn't that amazing is that if you're an expert or higher in something, chances are you should be the one doing it. Now, there are those moments where, 2 people are both an expert and one should do it and one should aid. And in that case, this is great. But I feel like 9 times out of 10, in a balanced party, I guess, balanced party, everyone will be good at different things, but that's also not always the case, to be fair. Especially if you're playing in a bigger group with maybe 6 or 7 players, God rest ye GMs. This can be really good. When multiple people kind of overlap in skills, this is not bad. In fact, it's actually really good. Incredible Improvisation. As a free action, once per day, you can give yourself +4 bonus to any skill check you're untrained in. It's okay. I mean, this effectively makes you an expert in something once per day, because thanks to Clever Improviser, you get to add your level to anything you attempt. So level +4 on 1 skill check per day? Not bad. Multi-talented is okay. It basically lets you exchange your Ancestry feat at level 9 for any archetype dedication feat. Now, it specifically has to be a multi-class archetype. You cannot use this on any non-multi-class archetype. The big bonus to this is that should you be locked into an archetype currently, you can still take the new dedication. If you only have 2 feats in the fighter archetype, you need 3 to be able to take anything else. But if you take multi-talented, you can still take the wizard dedication, even though you're not done with the fighter archetype. Not bad, honestly. It's a nice little loophole if you have a weird build that you're struggling to sort of schedule out. Dragon Prince. I can't wait till my Shandon fighter is level 9, because they get to cast Dragon Breath once per day as if they were a freaking draconic bloodline sorcerer. Now, it is still only at level 3, it does not get automatically heightened like the Sorcerer's Focus spell. It does 5d6 at level 9, and then every 3 levels afterwards it gets heightened, increasing its damage by 2d6. But hey, having an area of an effect 5d6 fire damage on my fighter is gonna be really helpful at times. I don't remember if I said it, but you can only use it once per day. Heir of the Sauk is definitely an upgrade, but it's a little bit riskier. You, instead of rolling a d8, now roll a d4. And you get whatever you roll as your bonus to your skill check, except if you roll a 1, you get -1. So you only have 4 options now, which is -1, +2, +3, or +4. Obviously, giving you access to a +3 and a +4 is a huge upgrade beyond the level 1 feat's cap at +2. You get a 25% chance to take a penalty, but hey, a 75% chance to be a really good bonus? I like those odds. Shori Aeromancer. You can fly once per day with the fly spell. Virtue Forge Tattoos is just the next upgrade along the whole tattoo ancestry feat line, and this grants you any 3rd level spell associated with your School of Magic. And it doesn't just have to be 3rd level, it can be any 1st or 2nd level spell, heightened to 3rd level, which I think is a really cool option. So you could take 3rd level magic missile that you can cast once per day out of your tattoo. That's really neat. Group aid is fine. It's very rare that it'll come into play, but you can now aid multiple allies at the same time, so long as you're not aiding them with an attack action. So if everybody is climbing a wall, you can aid 2 people at the same time to climb the wall at the same time. In really pressing time matters moments, this can be helpful, but I also feel like in those really pressing time matters moments, you don't think about the help action. It's an okay feat. For level 9, it's a little weak. Hardy Traveler, your bulk limit increases by 1, and your overland exploration travel speed increases by 10 feet. It's fine. Unconventional Expertise, you're an expert in whatever weapon you chose before, and if your weapon proficiency goes up, so does that with that weapon. I hate these feats. Iraseni Ice Witch, should you have picked the Winter-Touched Human Heritage, you can take this feat, and your cold resistance increases to 5 plus half your level, which is huge. And you can cast the 5th level Wall of Ice spell once per day. Fantastic. Shadow Pact grants you the level 5 spell Creation with some serious restrictions. First off, in order to cast it, you must deal yourself 1 damage to mix your blood with any shadow around you. You then cast the spell and create the object just like you cast the creation spell normally. However, should the object ever leave the shadow or encounter any kind of bright light, the object dissolves and disappears. So it's fine, it's a really limited version of a level 5 spell, but it could still be useful, especially if you're in like caves or a house or something. Shuri Aerialist makes you even better at flying. You get +2 to acrobatics in midair and a +5 foot speed bonus while flying via magic. Advanced General Training. It's just like General Training, but you can take any general feat up to level 7 now. Because humans need more general feats. Bounce Back is pretty fine. As a free action once per day, should you go from dying to awake or stabilized, then you don't increase your wounded condition. This is fine. For level 13, it seems like it comes a bit late, but it's fine. Stubborn Persistence. Once again, I'm not sure where this knowledge of humans are being renowned for their ability to persist through grueling trials. Not really sure where that comes from, but should you ever become fatigued, you get a DC 17 flat check. Should you succeed, you're not fatigued. Now, should there be an underlying cause, like you've been marching for hours on hours, this doesn't last forever. You'll be rolling again really soon. But should it just be a spell that would inflict fatigue and it's just a one and done effect and you resist it, the spell didn't do anything. Pretty solid. And at level 17, you get Heroic Presence, which once per day, for 1 action, you can target up to 10 willing creatures within 30 feet of you and grant them the effects of Zealous Conviction. This grants them 12 temporary hit points and a +2 bonus to will saves against mental effects. Now, unlike the normal spell, you can't give them a command to do something they don't want to do, but this is still great. This is a, hey, everyone around me, all of our allies, we're going into battle, take these temporary hit points and saving throw bonuses. This bonus lasts for 10 minutes, so this is a solid big buff at the start of an encounter. Not bad at all. You thought I forgot, but you're wrong! Moving on to half-elf feats, starting at level 1, Elf Avatism. Atavism. Atavism? That's a word? I always thought that was avatism, like an avatar. Okay. This just lets you pick any elf heritage to gain the effects for. This lets you kind of backwards. You exchange your heritage for elf feats, and then you exchange your first level ancestry feat for an elf heritage. It's okay, but you also can't take something that wouldn't make sense. For example, if you don't already have low light vision, but you do. That's a terrible example, core rulebook. Their example is, if you don't have low light vision, you can't take dark vision. Well, being a half-elf gives you low light vision. See, right in the heritage description, you always get low light vision if you take half-elf. But it basically says, common sense. If it requires a physical trait that you yourself do not have, you can't take that heritage. Round ears is a cool one. Your ears aren't pointy like an elf. You get a +4 deception check to pretend to be a human. That's basically all there is to it. People watching you don't get bonuses and you don't take penalties for pretending to be a full-blooded human because you just appear to be one. Not bad. Sociable, you become trained in diplomacy and get the Hobnobber skill feat. Again, not bad. Trading away an Ancestry feat for a skill increase and a skill feat is never a bad option. Earned Glory is a cool one. You become trained in performance and gain the Impressive Performance skill feat, and because you want to try so hard to impress elves to prove that just because you're a half-elf does not make you lesser, you can no longer critically fail to make an impression on an elf. Now, this does only apply if you're using performance to make that impression, which, thanks to the Impressive Performance feat, you can. Should you critically fail a diplomacy impression, well, you're still going to critically fail. But should you critically fail your performance impression check against an elf, you normal fail instead. Inspire Imitation is pretty good and does have some great synergy with the human feats that buff the aid action. Should you succeed a skill check, you can instantly, as a free action, roll an aid check for one ally. So should you successfully climb up a cliff and succeed your athletics check, as a free action, you can roll another athletics check as an aid action to buff your ally's athletics check to follow you. Supernatural Charm. You get the level 1 charm spell once per day. This is okay. Remember that this comes at level 5, and thanks to the incapacitation effect of Pathfinder 2e, that charm spell is only level 1 and can't be heightened. This means it only affects creatures of level 2 or lower. So this is great for charming, random commoners and peasants and maybe a merchant, but this will probably never be useful in combat. Keep that in mind. And level 9, the only other unique half-elf feat, and in my opinion, easily the strongest one, Pinch Time. You can cast 3rd level haste on yourself once per day. Now you can only cast it on yourself, no allies. But that's incredible! Once per day being able to cast haste, even if you're not a spellcaster? Holy crap! Put this on a ranger or a fighter and, oh my word, that's nasty. Now, going over the half-orc ancestry feats, I'm only going to be going over a few of them. You can see on this page that Monstrous Peacemaker has the half-orc trait, while those two on the right both have the orc trait. I'm going to be going over those when I go over the orc ancestry. But talking about half-orc feats, Monstrous Peacemaker is one of my favorites. You get a +1 circumstance bonus to diplomacy checks against non-humanoid intelligent creatures, and against humanoids that are marginalized by society. For example, goblins and orcs, which are often assumed to be evil, aggressive creatures, even though that's not always the case. This bonus also applies to your perception checks to sense motive on all of those creatures. My favorite part of this is just the reasoning. Quote, your dual human and orc nature has given you a unique perspective, allowing you to bridge the gap between humans and this many intelligent creatures in the world that humans consider monsters. You're just trying your best to say, hey, just because we look scary doesn't mean we're scary. Give us a chance, we're not gonna kill you. Now, this doesn't always work. It's only a +1. This could still go south and sideways real fast. But I just love the flavor of this feat. And I think Half-Orc is the perfect ancestry to put this on. I struggled for words there. Orc Sight grants you dark vision. Overlooked Mastermind is hilarious and plays in again to those assumptions of orcs and half-orcs. If you are playing dumb, if you actually know something, but you play dumb, you get a +2 to your deception check to lie about playing dumb. Where's the treasure? I don't know. I'm just a stupid half-orc. How I know? When in reality, you're just this totally fine 16 intelligence wizard. But because of this stigma, people are like, half-orcs are stupid. You use that to your advantage. I love this feat. Tusks. Most half-orc tusks are not big enough to hurt people. Now yours are, and they deal 1d6 piercing damage. This, as well as Orc Sight from the other book, you can only take at first level and can never be retrained, by the way, because they are something you were supposed to be born with. And believe it or not, the Advanced Player's Guide did not add any half-orc ancestry feats, so we're going back to the core rulebook, where I don't think there are any either. The rest of these are all orc feats. So that is where we are going to wrap up the human ancestry. Sorry that it looked like there was a ton more feats to go over, but I promise we'll be going over them soon when we get to the orc ancestry. In the APG, but that will be a few weeks from now, because starting next week, we'll be jumping into the Lost Omens character guide with hobgoblins. Very excited for that. Hey, let me know what you guys thought about all the core rulebook ancestries. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? Hey, if you're a human watching this video, leave a like and subscribe, alright? We humans gotta stick together, you know what I'm saying? Thank you so much for watching, guys. I want to give a huge shout out to Beadle Grimm for sponsoring this video, as well as a huge shout out to my patrons for just supporting the channel, supporting me, and letting me do what I love. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no nat ones.